Hello friends, welcome back to the tetrahedron chemistry classes. So guys, in today's class I am going to discuss the anomeric effect, and this anomeric effect comes into the play when actually you learn the conformations of saturated heterocyclic compounds. So before going into the details of the anomeric effect, it is very important to identify the anomeric carbon present in the system. Okay, and before that anomeric carbon, to find the anomeric carbon, you should know what is actually the epimeric carbon or what are the epimers. So first of all, you should know the epimers. Okay, so what are these epimers? Say for example, I am writing a configuration. Say this is the molecule you are having here, 1 2 3. Okay, and say for example, you are having aldehyde over there, and then you are having OH here, OH here, another OH here, and another OH here, and then you are having say CH2OH. Okay, and at this position you are having all the hydrogens. Clear? So if you number it, then you will find it is nothing but 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So this molecule is basically what? C6, then H12O6. So it is a glucose molecule, right? This is how you can write the glucose. This is one way of writing the glucose. Now on the other hand, what you can do, you can draw another structure for this glucose. Okay, 1 2 3 4. Say this is the aldehydic group, and at the bottom you are having your alcoholic group, and all groups are same. Say this is OH, this is another OH, this is another OH, and now this is H. So this would be your OH, right? And all would be the hydrogens. So these are the two structures of the glucose. Again, what you can do, you can number it: 1 2 3 4 5 6 carbons are there, and then you can count your hydrogens also: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, right? So H12 is there, then one oxygen here, then 2 3 4 5 6. So this is the structure of the glucose. But if you if you want to know the difference between them, then you will find that this carbon, which is actually your carbon number 2, right here, this is your carbon number 2, this is having the R configuration, this is rectus. Okay, and that carbon number 2 in the second structure, it is having the S configuration, it is sinister. Okay, while if you decide the other carbons configuration, then you will find it is R, it is also R, it is also R, and similarly this is R also, this is R also, this is R. So what is the difference in between these two? See, the difference only is that at carbon number 2, if you have this aldehyde, that means at carbon number 2 you are having the different stereochemistry of the chiral carbon. That means configuration is inverted from this end, right? So basically these two are the diastereomers. Okay, they are not they are actually not enantiomers, but they are the diastereomers. I hope you understand what are the diastereomers, how to decide the R and S configuration, all these things. If you don't know these things, you can go through the description box. I am giving you the link where I have discussed all these things in the pretty much detail. Okay, so these actually two structures are the epimers of each other, and this carbon number 2 in both the cases is the epimeric carbon. So if you want to know the definition, so you can simply say the diastereomers that contain more than one chiral center, right? But these two diastereomers would differ from each other in the absolute configuration only at one carbon atom, right? So you see carbon number 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, they all are the chiral centers, right? And same is true for this molecule also. At carbon number 3, 4 and 5, they are having the same configuration, but at carbon number 2, they are having the different configuration, right? So that's why it is the epimer. This is something very, very important. Okay, so this you should know actually. Okay, then after that, if you see these are the epimers, right? But if you want to know the anomers, right? So what you can do, you can convert them into the cyclic structure. you can make the cyclic structure of the glucose, right? From there you can have the definition of the anomers. So I can write anomers here, anomers. So anomers are also the epimers, they are also the epimers, but simply the definition, if you Google it or if you go through any book, then you will find cyclic monosaccharides or the cyclic glycosides that are epimers differing from each other in the configuration at only one carbon atom. These are called the anomers. So basically anomers and epimers are the same things, but epimers are the broad category and anomers are the little smaller category in which you consider only the glycosides or the monosaccharides which differ in their configuration only at one carbon atom. For example, if I want to draw the structure of cyclic structure of the glucose, right? So how you can how I can draw this? Say this is the structure of cyclic structure of the glucose. Here it is, oxygen is present, and at this position you are having the OH, okay, and this position you are also having the OH, at this position you are also having the OH, right? Sorry, I made a mistake here, not at this position. Your hydrogen is up in that case, hydroxyl is up in that case, here it is down, okay, and at this carbon you are having the CH2OH, right? This species you are having, and don't forget hydrogen is here, and then you are having another hydrogen, which, see, at this point you are having hydrogen here, and then another hydrogen is here, then another hydrogen is here. But for simplicity or to make the structure little bit clear, I am not drawing this hydrogen because these hydrogens are seldom needed to explain the anomeric effect. So I am not interested in the hydrogen, but you please be careful that hydrogens are always there. So this is the one form of the glucose, right? This is the cyclic structure of the glucose, and that structure is known as alpha D glucopyranose. So why this terminology alpha is there, right? So if you number it, then so you can consider this carbon as 1, this carbon as 2, this carbon as 3, this is 4, this is 5, and this is your 6th carbon, and your ring is going on, and that carbon number 1 is basically your anomeric carbon. This carbon is anomeric carbon, and you know the hydroxyl group which I have placed here at the carbon number 1, it is going downside, it is going below the plane. That means alpha, you know, in the stereochemistry, when you have the group above the plane, that would be beta, when you have the group below the plane, that would be alpha. So it simply tells us that this hydroxyl group is alpha in that case, which gives this name alpha, and D is the glucose family, and it is a pyranose ring, so it is one form. Okay, now if you want to draw this structure again, so how you can draw this structure again? It's quite simple here. You see, so I can write oxygen here, this is my oxygen, and now I am placing my OH above the plane, okay, and rest of the things are same. This is below the plane, this one is above the plane, this one is below the plane, and this is your CH2OH, okay. And in that case you can beautifully observe that this hydroxyl group which is present at this carbon, what is the number of this particular carbon? Again you see, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, okay. So this carbon is having the OH group which is above the ring, that means it is beta, okay. When it is beta, so you can write its place, it is beta. When it is beta, then it can have name, what? It is beta D glucopyranose, okay. So what is the difference in between these two compounds? You can clearly observe only at carbon number 1, only at carbon number 1 in case of the glucose, right, only aldehydes basically, not glucose. In case of the aldehydes, right, at carbon number 1 you are having the different configuration. Here the configuration, here it is above the plane, here it is below the plane, and this difference actually is sufficient to call these this carbon as the anomeric carbon, right. And basically these two are the epimers. In the broad sense they are the epimers, but we are dealing with the cyclic glycosides, right. So that means it is better to say that anomers, right. In the sugars basically we don't call this carbon as the epimeric carbon, but we call it as the anomeric carbon. So this is the anomeric carbon, right, and this gives the different configuration to this position, right. This is the case of the your aldehyde, but not in the aldehyde only, in actually your ketone also, right. So how actually this structure have derived, you should know this thing actually, right. If I go back, so what actually had happened in that case, that that OH actually combined with this one and it forms a 6-membered ring here, right. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6-membered ring, and this OH actually CH2OH would come above the plane, would come actually as a side chain. So basically it is formed in that manner. See, this oxygen has attacked on this particular carbon, which is carbonyl carbon, right, and same is true for this one also. So if you number all it, say now if you number them, say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. Okay, on this actually ground I have made this particular structure. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6th actually is the side chain, and this is the ring closure actually. Okay, so this is the case of the aldehydes. Carbon number 1 is having the different configuration which is known, which is actually your anomeric carbon. But what about if you have see what you have if you have the what you can do if you have the fructose. See, fructose are the ketones. So if you want to know the structures of the fructose, then you can write in that manner. So see, I am not actually spending that much of time. You can go through the books by your own and understand. In case of the fructose, carbon number 2 is the epimeric carbon. Okay, this is important. This you can do by your own. Okay, I hope this thing is quite sufficient for you to know the difference between the anomers and the epimers, anomeric carbons and the epimeric carbons, right. Now if I want to draw the structure of or if I want to draw the conformations of these saturated hydrocycles like this, they are the saturated compounds, and then this cycle you are having the oxygen, that means it is the heterocyclic compound and it is a glucose, right. Generally it is the cyclic structure of the glucose. So how I can write the structure for this for these, right. So first of all I am drawing the structure. Say for example I am drawing the, see, it is always better to draw the chair form. Okay, it is always better to draw the chair form of the conformer. So I am drawing this one, right. Say this is the structure. Okay, I am putting oxygen here. This is quite good here, and when I am putting the oxygen here, so immediately after the oxygen, say this is carbon number 1, this is carbon number 2, this is carbon number 3, this is carbon number 4, this is carbon number 5. Okay, and and you can see here this carbon number 5 is having CH2OH. This carbon number 5 is having CH2OH. So how I can write this CH2OH? So I can write just like that OH. Okay, so how? Say this is carbon number 1 and this is carbon number 2, like this is 1, this is 2. Okay, and then I have to place the remaining of the OH group. So at carbon number 1 you are having OH downside. So what you can do, you can put this in the downside. So this is the OH, there is no problem in that. In the second carbon also, if you see the second carbon also, so in the second carbon you see this this is also alpha, that means downside. So you can place this just like that. Okay, and then you can go through this at carbon number 3 it is beta, that means it is above the plane. So you can place this as above the plane, and then if you go for your carbon number 4 it is alpha, that means bottom of the plane. So you can place this as such, hydroxyl group. So this is the structure actually, and this is your alpha enomer. Alpha enomer. Okay, why? Because I have derived this structure from this. So this is one of the cyclic form, right? If you want to draw the structure for this form, so what you can do, you can again draw this structure, and you can put oxygen here, and now you can focus here at carbon number 1 this OH is beta, that is above the plane. So what you can do, you can place that OH above the plane, rest of the things actually will remain the same. So this is OH, okay, this is OH again, this is OH again, and this is your CH2OH. So this is the structure you have drawn, and that is actually the beta enomer. And if you want to know the population of them, see generally what happens, you have in the stereochemistry you have already learned that the structure or the conformer which have all the groups equatorial is more stable. So in that case you can see this is equatorial, this is also equatorial, this OH is also equatorial, this OH is also equatorial, this is also equatorial. So it should be more stable, okay. But in case of this, you can see this is axial, right? This hydroxyl group is the axial. So when it is axial, so there should be 1,3 diaxial interaction, due to which this should be actually less stable, and when it is less stable, the see its population should be less, its population should be less. But actually reverse thing we observe here in that case, this if you form the equilibrium between them, then you find this alpha enomer is in excess, its population is quite high, it is in excess, right, and it is a minor one. That it is reverse what you have, it is reverse of that what you have studied in during your stereochemistry, right. So why this happens actually, and here comes the picture of your anomeric effect, because this carbon, right, this carbon is the anomeric carbon which is having the OH axial, that means alpha, and this is the anomeric carbon which is having the OH beta, that is equatorial. Okay, it should be more stable, but it is not more stable, this is more stable. And remember, these are not the flipped structure, it is not like that it is this structure has flipped and formed this one. No, it actually goes through the this structure, you can convert this structure alpha enomer into the beta enomer via the your say acetal cleavage or your ketal cleavage, right. So remember, this actually goes through the cleavage. So how this cleavage would occur? So I can draw the cleave structure here. Say this is double bond oxygen, okay, and this is my OH, this is OH here, this is my OH, this is my OH here, and this is my OH, and of course this hydrogen is present here, okay. So this is actually the open chain structure, this goes through this cleavage, actually they are not the flipped structure, okay. So why this happens, now we will see the anomeric effect. So why actually this alpha conformer, this particular conformer is in the excess population, we can discuss this one by one, okay. So let's go how we can see that. Say what are the factors? So first of all, I am writing here factors, see not number 1, what I can do, I can write factors affecting axial and equatorial populations. Factors affecting axial and equatorial anomers. Okay, so what are the factors? Number one is dipole repulsion. Dipole repulsion, and in the textbook you will find dipole interaction, right? But I am writing dipole repulsion for the specific regions. Okay, say first of all I am drawing the equatorial isomer. Okay, so if I want to draw the equatorial isomer, that means this is the chair conformer. Okay, so this is the oxygen and this is my equatorial OH group. This is OH, there is no problem in that. Okay, this is OH, this is another OH, and this is OH, right? Remember one thing, this oxygen is having two lone pairs. One lone pair is axial and another lone pair is equatorial. Okay, and you know this hydroxyl group which is present here, it is a polar group. Okay, when it is a polar group, that means it will also have the dipole moment. So what will happen in that case? You see, this dipole moment is going in that particular direction, and the resultant dipole moment of these equatorial and equatorial and axial lone pairs, they are also going in the same direction, right? So that means you see, lone pair is also there on the oxygen, lone pair is also there in the oxygen. So what can happen? There occurs the repulsion between them. So I can write repulsion. Due to this repulsion, actually and see, this repulsion is very large. Due to this repulsion, this OH actually is not very comfortable, right? Due to this repulsion, this hydroxyl group is not very comfortable in this equatorial position, so it pushed back into the axial position. That's why it is the less stable isomer. Please remember this point. This is something very important, right? This repulsion, that net repulsion between the OH dipole moment and this lone pair dipole moment, they are going into the same direction, and the repulsion is very high. This OH group is not very comfortable in this particular position, so it quickly actually transform into the axial one. So how you can write in the axial form? Say this is your axial isomer. This is my oxygen and this is the OH. Rest of the things you already know. OH, OH, and this is your OH again, right? And here you see, okay, this. So this is the net dipole moment, and its dipole moment between this carbon and oxygen, it is going downside. So sorry for that. What I have said that earlier, that OH dipole moment, don't consider this OH dipole moment, consider the carbon oxygen dipole moment. So it is going in that direction. Okay, along with this one also, so it is going in that direction. So please consider carbon oxygen dipole moment. Okay, here also carbon and oxygen dipole moment, so they are going into the opposite direction. So this repulsion is not there in the axial conformer. Okay, this repulsion is not there in the axial conformer, so that's why this is more stable, right? That's why it is more stable. So this is the one region, actually this is the one region why the axial isomer is more stable. This is actually what you say anomeric effect. And one more thing which you should know, actually, since the dipole moment is actually going in this particular direction, okay, so this carbon is basically positively charged here, right? And this oxygen is obviously the negatively charged species. This is something very important which you should know. Okay, now one more thing which you can consider here, the steric repulsion. Second factor, you can go for the steric repulsion, and more correctly 1,3 diaxial interaction. But remember, this 1,3 diaxial interaction is very less and not the deciding factor, not the deciding factor. How? say one can argue this, right? Say how you can argue this. Say you have drawn this structure, this is oxygen, right, and this is your hydrogen. Please wait, let me shift it somewhere else, right? Say this is your hydrogen here, right? This is how. So what can happen in that case? Not hydrogen, this is hydroxyl OH. So what can happen? Say at this position you are having hydrogen, and this position you are having hydrogen. So if you number it, say, then what can happen in that case? If this oxygen is 1, then it is 1, okay, or what you can do, not 1, you can simply recall your 1,3 diaxial interaction, and those 1,3 diaxial interaction, that means this OH group can hit this OH, right? This hydrogen can hit this OH, and similarly this OH also can hit this H. So these are the 1,3 diaxial interaction. So how you can say it is 1,3 diaxial interaction? Say if it is 1, not this, what I am doing here, please. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So the substituent at the position number 1 can hit the substituent at the position number 3. Similarly, you can go for this one also, okay. These two can also hit, but due to this region, you can say that since these 1,3 diaxial interactions are there, that means this diaxial form should be less stable. But remember, this 1,3 diaxial interactions are not very important factor in that case. They are not the deciding contributors, okay. So this will make very less contribution. So this effect actually nullifies, and this repulsion actually dominates, which actually proves that this is the stable species. So this is one way of explaining this one, okay. So beta in that case, you can see your alpha isomer or alpha conformer would be the more prevalent one, which is the axial one. So, and the most important thing, right, the most important thing is what you can see here, the important thing, the anomeric effect. Next is actually your anomeric effect. Anomeric effect, that means donation of non-bonding electron pair to the sigma antibonding orbital of carbon oxygen bond. This is the deciding factor, and this is the anomeric effect. From here you can learn the anomeric effect. Say I have drawn this conformer, this is my oxygen and this is my OH, okay, and rest you know, this is OH, this is OH, this is also OH, this is also OH, okay. In that case, now from the light of your molecular orbital theory, you know certain things. Say this is your axial lone pair and this is the equatorial lone pair on the oxygen, and the important thing is that at this position, this is your carbon oxygen bonding molecular orbital, right, bonding is there. So exactly at the 180-degree angle of this bond, you will find the anti-bonding carbon oxygen molecular orbital. So that anti-bonding molecular orbital between carbon and oxygen I can show in that manner. So I am using the different color for this, different color for this one, right, this, right. This is what sigma anti-bonding of carbon and oxygen, right. And remember these anti-bonding orbital, bonding and anti-bonding orbitals are exactly at 180-degree angle to each other, right. So what can happen, you see in that case, this electron pair which is axial is exactly parallel to this anti-bonding orbital, and when these two orbitals are parallel, when any two orbitals are parallel and aligned with the same direction, then overlapping is quite easy in that case. Overlapping means the donation of the electron would be very easy in that case. So what can happen, this electron pair can be donated to this anti-bonding molecular orbital, which makes this bond, see, which makes it actually this conformer very stable. Overlapping is there, but important thing is that you should remember, since electrons are coming into this anti-bonding molecular orbital, that means the bonding interactions are decreasing, anti-bonding interactions are increasing, since the electrons are actually going into the anti-bonding orbital. So this bond length, due to the anti-bonding interactions, this bond length actually increases. So please remember this point, higher bond length, higher bond length. Please remember this point. Okay, so this donation is very easy in this case when you have this axial conformer, while in the equatorial conformer you won't have the such type of thing, because in the see, if you want to draw the equatorial conformer, so how you can draw, say this is your equatorial, this is oxygen, okay, and here you see the lone pair which is axial, lone pair which is equatorial, and you have placed that OH equatorial. So at the 180 degree of this bond, you are having your anti-bonding, carbon oxygen anti-bonding molecular orbital. Now you can clearly see this actually is not aligned either with this equatorial one or not aligned with this one. So in that case, overlapping is not possible. That means the donation of this lone pair to the anomeric carbon is not possible in that case. Okay, and when this happens actually, then no anomeric effect would be observed in that case, and this anomeric effect is the deciding factor. So this anomeric effect, which is greater in case of the alpha anomer, right, alpha, that means bottom side, right, so it is most stable one. So these are the three factors, while in that case such kind of interaction is not possible, right. So this is the anomeric effect. So from here, see, I have explained this anomeric effect only for this glycosides, but please remember this point, whenever actually you are having this electronegative group present at the anomeric carbon, this is the anomeric carbon, this is the electronegative group. So see, you may also have the chlorine in that case, you may have OCH3 in that case, you may have nitrogen in that case, various things are there in that case. Okay, and when you have these much electronegative element at the anomeric carbon, then anomeric effect comes into the play, and due to this anomeric effect, the axial conformer is actually the major conformer, right, and which is quite against from the normal stereochemistry which you have studied. This is the special case. I hope you understand this much of thing. Okay, now see, this is just the introduction. Now we can go for some important things also. What are the other different factors which actually change this population ratio? Okay, so for example, what I can do, I can write, say, number 4. See, you may have two situations. You may have solvents actually, right? So effect of solvent, effect of, not affect, very sorry, effect of solvent's polarity, effect of solvent's polarity. So for example, you are having this stable conformer, this is oxygen and this is your OH, okay, and here in that case you are having OH and this is OH, this is OH, and then you are having OH, right? This is the stable one. But for example, you keep this sample in the, you keep this molecule in the polar protic solvent, polar protic solvent, like say H2O, water molecule. So when you actually put this molecule into the water molecule, then the solvation would occur. So due to the solvation, what will happen? See, this hydroxyl group as well as this hydroxyl group, like see all these actually, okay, all these, but I'm interested only these two, on these two actually. So what can happen? They get solvated. So lots of water molecule will surround this OH, just like that. H2O, 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 solvation occurs. Similarly here also H2O, 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 and lots of H2O would also be there. You see, in that case, the size of these two groups due to this solvation becomes very, very bulky, and there would be the steric repulsion between them, dipole-dipole repulsion between them, right? And due to this repulsion, it would be less stable. It would be less stable and not the major conformer, not the major conformer. So if someone say that you are putting that this molecule or this conformer into the polar solvent, then what will you observe? Then you will say this molecule will not remain actually the major conformer, and in that case your equatorial conformer would be more stable. So please remember, in the polar protic solvent, your equatorial conformer would be stable. So here anomeric effect will not predominate. In that case, anomeric effect will not work. So I can write anomeric effect will not work in case of the polar solvent, right? But if you do in the see, if you keep this molecule in non-polar solvents, okay, like you have ether, you have carbon tetrachloride, then your axial conformer, which is this one, will dominate. So please remember this point. Solvent's polarity actually is quite important in that case. If you keep if you keep on increasing the solvent's polarity, say polarity increases, okay, then equatorial conformer increases and axial conformer decreases. This is how you can understand, okay. And another thing, say this is point number 4, say you are having the point number 5. See, nature of the anomeric substituent. Nature of anomeric substituent. So what is the meaning of that? Say you are having your halogens, say X negative, you are having halogens, and in the halogens also, you know, this is the better leaving group I, this is Br negative, this is Cl negative, okay, this is F negative, these are the halogens, okay. And then here this species COO negative, it is also the better leaving group. Similarly, you may have here CH3CO negative, it is also a better one, and then you may have here CH3 not CH3, what I can do, I can write CH3CS negative. I have replaced this oxygen with the sulfur, and then you are having your alkoxide like your CH3O negative, and then you may have here this sulfide S negative, and then you are having your OH, then your NH2, and then your say CHCO2 Me, and lastly you are having N positive. Okay, so what it means that, see, please remember this point. See, if you have say for example, I have drawn this structure. Please listen carefully. This is your X. Okay, so what would be the population difference? Say for example, this is oxygen, this is X. Okay, so in that case your X is I, and right, so what can happen in that case? And one more thing, in the second case your X is actually CH3 negative. So in that case, higher population of axial isomer, higher population of axial conformer. Please remember. So the important thing is that whenever you are having this anomeric carbon substituted with the electronegative group, then the population will depend upon the type of the substitution. In general, if the leaving group is better, right, if the leaving group is better, then the axial population would be very, very high. And you know, among the halogens, your I negative is the best leaving group, right? When it is the best leaving group, that means if you have two, right, say you substitute with this iodine and second time you substitute with this bromine, then there would be the quite clear difference in the population of your iodo substituted conformers and your bromo substituted conformer. Axial conformer would be very, very high when you have the iodos. The same, this is the order actually you can follow. And remember, this is N positive, which shows the negative anomeric effect. This shows negative anomeric effect. What it means? Equatorial conformer would be higher. Equatorial conformer dominates. Okay, its population would be high. So second factor is this one actually, right? Say one more thing actually you can consider here. Say for example, you are having these two. Say this is oxygen, and you are having S and CH3 here. Okay, and in the second case you are having this thing, and here I am putting OH. Okay, and of course it is along with its equatorial conformer, it is also along with its equatorial conformer. So in which case the population of the axial isomer would be higher? So you can clearly say the axial population would be higher in case of the sulfur, because I have already given you this order here. You see, CH3S, sulfur is quite high when compared, see, sulfur and then your CH3O negative, right? So let's okay, let me check once what I have written. S, CH3 and OH. Okay, OH I have written here. Go back. Say this is SCH3, this is OH. So OH is having the lesser anomeric effect when compared to this S3H, so its population would be very, very high. If you similarly compare in between these two, then the axial conformer would be higher. Population of the axial conformer would be higher in case of the OH substitution rather than the NH2 substitution. This is one way. So this is the anomeric effect which you should know. But sometimes with this anomeric effect you may also observe certain things which is known as the double anomeric effect. Important thing, double anomeric effect. And for this double anomeric effect, I can give you the example of your spiroketals. So what are these spiroketals? Basically these spiroketals are the, see, they are actually the pheromones. So example you can take for this one. pheromone of the olive fly. Pheromone of olive fly. So basically pheromones are the sex hormones which is secreted by the animals or the insects actually. Okay, so if you have see this olive fly pheromone, so it is actually the spirochetal. So how spirochetal? You can draw the spiro linkage here. Say this is 6-membered ring, okay, and this is the spirocarbon. This carbon is the spirocarbon, and here the substitution of oxygen, and here also the substitution of the oxygen. So this is actually the pheromone of your olive fly, and it can exist in the different conformers. It can exist in the different conformers, and which conformer will predominate, it will decided by the anomeric effect. It's a beautiful example in the natural products actually. Okay, so if you don't know what are the spiro compounds and how to do the nomenclature of the spiro compounds, I am giving you the link in the description box where I have discussed in detail, right, the nomenclature of the spiro compounds, okay, and the bridged compounds. I am giving you both the links. You can go through and understand the things from there. Okay, so please remember these are the sex hormones actually. So how we can draw the structure for the different conformers of this one? Say I am drawing the first one. Say this is my, okay, and it is my advice to you also, please do the practice of actually drawing such structures. Okay, this one, and I am putting my oxygen here, okay, and then I am putting my second chair form in that case. Say this is oxygen, and this is my second compound, my second ring actually. So now say this is very important here actually the visualization come, you know, this is consider only this ring. So this carbon is, this bond is actually the axial bond. This bond is the axial bond because it is going through the axis. It is the axis of the, if you know, see this is the axis of this chair, and this bond is going parallel to this axis. That means it is the axial substituent. Okay, so this is actually, this I can write it as axial bond. This is one way. And now see this chair, focus, see what you can do, you can keep your eye here, somewhere here, you keep your eye here and see this chair, and the moment if you view the molecule in this particular direction, then you will find, okay, this is the chair, okay, and the molecular axis of this chair is just like that, and this bond is also axial. So this bond is axial to this ring. So what you can do, you can write this is also axial. So these two, see this is very important. Here comes the your visualization. See actually stereochemistry demands the visualization of the molecule in the 3D direction. Okay, however it is difficult without the models, molecular models, but I have given you the clear idea. See this is the molecular axis and this bond is going parallel to the axis, so this is axial. Now if you keep the eye here, forget about this ring, view this chair. So this is the molecular axis of the chair and this bond is going parallel to this molecular axis. Okay, so that's why it is also the axial one. So axial, and you know in the anomeric effect you have already learned, whenever you have this this thing axial conformer, that means the anomeric effect is there. So in that case your double anomeric effect will play. So how we can draw the double anomeric effect in this case? So let me actually clear certain things, right. So I hope this is clear to you. So that's why I am erasing all these things. Okay, right. So now you know, so what I can do, I can draw the lone pairs of the oxygen, this and this. Similarly, I can draw the lone pair of this oxygen also, 2 lone pairs. Okay, now you can go for the carbon oxygen anti bonding molecular orbital. Say this is carbon oxygen bond, okay, and at the 180-degree angle of this you will have the anti bonding. That means in that direction you will have your anti bonding molecular orbital. Okay, so you can draw your anti bonding molecular orbital here. So I can write it as sigma anti bonding. Okay, now similarly this is what your carbon oxygen bond for this one, and at the 180-degree angle you will find the anti bonding molecular orbital for this one also. So you can draw the anti bonding molecular orbital for this. Okay, empty. So what can happen in that case? This electron pair can be donated to this one. This is your first anomeric effect, and this is also, see, this was parallel to this one. Similarly, this is parallel to this one. So this lone pair can also be donated to this. So here double anomeric effect is there, and due to this double anomeric effect, its population is very high, highest population of this one. So what other conformers you can draw? So I can draw the other conformers also for you. Say what I can do, I can draw the structure in that manner, right? Okay, now I am putting my oxygen here. Okay, and then, sorry, I should use the different color. So this is your oxygen, this is your second chair. Okay, now imagine, first of all you see this one actually, right? So for this chair actually this is axial bond. Okay, so you can write this as axial. Now forget about this and view the molecule from this direction. Say this is your eye and you are viewing this chair. When you are viewing this chair, then this is, you see, equatorial. This is going equatorial. It is not actually, molecular axis would be just like that. Molecular axis would be just like that, and this bond is going away from the at 90 degree, somewhat 90 degree to this molecular axis. So it is equatorial one. So that bond is the equatorial one. Okay, and this is actually this hormone actually is produced by the female fly. So if you take the mirror image of this one, that would be the enantiomer, and that enantiomer would be actually produced by the male fly. Okay, so this is the stereochemistry. So what you have done in that case, see, this is axial, this is axial, equatorial, and last you can last conformer you can draw, say just like that. So I am putting my oxygen here, and then I am putting my oxygen here. Okay, now imagine, say this is your chair, this bond is equatorial. Okay, so this is equatorial, and if you keep your eye here and view the molecule from that direction, okay, so in that case this is also the equatorial. For this is equatorial, this is also equatorial, and the important way to actually visualize the equatorial one, if the two heteroatoms are forming this V actually, so this is the diequatorial one. So this is actually what, equatorial and equatorial, that means no anomeric effect. Okay, in that case it is axial and equatorial, that means one anomeric effect, and in that case here two anomeric effects, Why? Because it is axial and axial. Say if I call it as A, if I call it as B, if I call it as C, so the population would be like that. A would be the highest, followed by the B, and C would be the least, which is having the lowest population. So this is the example of the double anomeric effect. Similarly, say I am giving you the one homework to you. and that homework is say you are having pheromone of the Apiolus crucifer. So I can write here pheromone of Apiolus crucifer, another sex hormone produced by the your Apiolus crucifer. It is again a fly actually. Okay, so what is the structure for that case? So in that case, what you do actually, you simply draw the structure of the spirocheetals. Sorry. So this is your spirocarbon, and here you are having the oxygen. Okay, and in that case here you are having the oxygen, and just immediately after this oxygen, say at this place, you are having CH3. So this is the pheromone. For this, try to draw the different conformers and decide the which conformer actually would prevail actually. So I am giving you the hint in that case. Please remember this point. If you if you want to draw the conformer for this one, please see you will focus on these two actually. Diaxial, these should be diaxials, but this methyl would also be there, and you know whenever the group is in the equatorial position, see this will actually confuse you. So what I can do, I can actually draw this conformer also. See, however, if you go through the stereochemistry by the Nasipuri, or say the stereochemistry by the Claydon, I think this example is there in the Claydon, I think. Okay, if I am not wrong, it is there in the Claydon, and in the Nasipuri also, right? Nasipuri also. So how you can draw this one? Say this is, I can draw the conformer. Say this is first one, and I am putting my oxygen here. Okay, and this is this one, and this is this one. This is connected here, and this is my methyl. Okay, and then I can have, say I am drawing in that manner. Say this is my oxygen, and say this is oxygen, and this is my chair. It is actually just like that. Okay, so this is my another chair. Okay, and in that case this methyl is equatorial. So if you focus here, this is axial. Say if this is ring A, this is ring B. Okay, so this is axial to ring A, and sorry, very sorry, this is axial to ring B. These two axial, but in that case this methyl is also axial. Okay, and this will give you the 1,3 diaxial interaction. But in that case, you see this is equatorial. It will not give you the 1,3 diaxial interaction. So in that case, this would be more stable rather than this one. So see, please remember this point. If you see, both are diaxial. See, this is also axial. This bond is also axial. This is also axial. This is also axial. Right? In both the cases, the anomeric effect would be there, but the deciding factor would be this methyl group. So you have to consider the another groups which another group, if they are also present in the system, then with the help of these you can also decide the configuration your population of the major contributor. Okay, this is the actually example. You can find it in I think in Claydon. Okay, so these are the certain things which you should remember. Now there are certain things which you should know, which are very important. Say for example, now some practice problem actually I am doing for you. So length of the video has increased so much, but these concepts are very important. Say you are having this compound, you have been given this compound, and it is a heterocyclic compound, and here you are having the nitrogen, here also you are having the nitrogen, and in that case you are also having the nitrogen, and all these are having substituents. it is having your tertiary butyl, it is also having your tertiary butyl, and it is also having the tertiary butyl. Okay, and then you are having the second component say your another heterocyclic compound, which is your dioxane type. Okay, and here you are having say I, and I, and then you may go for the third example, which is the special one. Say this is oxygen, this is sulfur here, and this is X. Now you have to decide among the, see there are different conformations are possible for all these three, but which conformer actually would be the stable and which would be not stable in that case. Okay, and of course in that case your enkymeric anomeric, not enkymeric, enkymeric is neighboring group participation, anomeric effect actually in that where the anomeric effect is that, and in that in which case the anomeric effect is not there. You have to consider all these things. So first of all I am solving the problem 1. Say this is my problem number 1, and I am drawing the chair conformer for this one. Okay, just like that. So what you can do, you can put nitrogen here. So I should use the different color. So I'm using this. This is my nitrogen. Okay, and at this position also I am having my nitrogen. At this position I am also having my nitrogen. Say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. So at 2, 4 and 6 positions. Okay, the numbering is not according to the IUPAC, please remember. So you can make it this is the equatorial position, this is also the equatorial position, and this is also the equatorial position. Okay, and you know when the bulky substituents in the 6-membered ring are at the equatorial position, they are actually the more stable one. But remember, they are not the simple, this is not the simple cyclohexane. The cyclohexane ring is actually having the heteroatom, which is the nitrogen. Okay, and when it is having the nitrogen, then you may think about the enkymeric anomeric. Repeatedly I am actually calling it the enkymeric assistance. Please forget about this. It is not enkymeric, it is anomeric effect. Okay, so in that case, you see, first you have drawn in that manner, and remember one thing also, all the nitrogen. So I am focusing on this. This will have the lone pair, this will also have the lone pair, and this will also have the lone pair. Okay, now what I am doing, I am changing this configuration. Say I am drawing this in that manner, just like that, and I am putting my nitrogens here. Say this is my nitrogen. Okay, this is my another nitrogen, and this is my another nitrogen, and the thing I am doing here, I am changing this, I am putting this into the axial position. Okay, and rest 2 I am placing on the equatorial positions. Okay, and now you should know actually this is having what, lone pair. This nitrogen will have the lone pair, and this bond is carbon nitrogen bond. So at 180 degree of this carbon nitrogen bond, you will have the anti-bonding molecular orbital also. So here you see, if I can write it as sigma anti-bonding of carbon nitrogen. So in that case you can clearly see, similarly in that case also, right, if you go, then say if you focus on this one, this nitrogen, this is bonding, and at 180 degree you will have the anti-bonding of this one also. So you can draw anti-bonding of this one also. Okay, sigma anti-bonding of carbon nitrogen bond. So what can happen, you see in that case, this is parallel to this, this is also parallel to this, so this can be donated here and this can be donated here. So very good overlapping is there. That means anomeric effect is there in that case. It can be donated from here to here, it can be donated from here to here. So due to this anomeric effect, one group actually goes equatorial, axial one. So axial conformer would be higher in that case. So this is less stable. This is less stable. Why? Because there is no such anomeric effect in that case when all the substituents are equatorial. But when you put one of the group in the axial position, then you will have the anomeric effect. Now the question comes, what if we put all the groups in the axial, and when you put this tertiary butyl group all in the axial position, then your 1,3 diaxial interaction would be very high, and that would overcome actually your anomeric effect, and that species would not be the highest species in that case. Okay, so this is one way. This is very important, which you should know. Okay, so in that case, this is the important isomer. Okay, so if you know, then this is how this will have the highest population. Now second example, number 2, I can write it here, say this and this. Okay, and oxygen at one position and oxygen at position 5. Okay, and you know, lone pair and lone pair, lone pair and lone pair. This is how you can do that. Okay, and you know, at all other positions you are having I. Okay, there is no problem in that, and then you have substituted with this I, there is no problem in that. This is also substituted with the I, there is no problem in that, and this is also substituted with the I. And if you want, then you can draw the your anti-bonding, your sigma anti-bonding between carbon and I. Similarly, in that case also you can draw this, which is what? Sigma anti-bonding, and here also you can draw the sigma anti-bonding, right? Similarly, also here you can draw the sigma anti-bonding. So here you can see the donation is quite facile. Here also these two are parallel, donation is quite facile. Okay, similarly here also, see, when they are see this anti-bonding and this can also donate here. So lots of chances are there for the anomeric effect, and maximum overlap is there. So in this case, all chlorines are in equatorial position will give the maximum anomeric effect, and that would be the most stable conformer. And if you want to draw this one, oxygen oxygen, putting equatorial and putting equatorial, putting also this in equatorial, and this is also equatorial, in that case no anomeric effect would be there. So this would have the higher population. I hope this is clear to you, and this is very important also. Okay, now moving to the next one. What I was having, okay, I was having this species. Okay, so for this actually we should remember actually the say hockey stick effect. So here actually I can write here hockey sticks effect. However, this is the older name or older terminology, but new terminology is actually your repulsive gauche effect. Repulsive gauche effect. Okay, and this repulsive gauche effect would be there in case of 1,4 oxathione. 1,4 oxathione. So what is 1,4 oxathione? I can write here, say this is the structure, just like that. This is 1, and this is position number 4, which is having the sulfur, and this sulfur is having two lone pairs, one is equatorial and one is axial. And here also you are having the substitution of say X. Let me check what was the substitution. Okay, X is the substitution. This X could be anything. Okay, any electronegative atom or any electronegative group. Please remember. Okay, so this is how you can do that. Okay, and now if this is halogen, then you know this is what, lone pair, this is lone pair, and this is also the lone pair. Okay, so what happens in that case? These lone pairs actually will hit each other, and when they will hit each other, they will create the very high repulsion, and when they will create the very high repulsion, right, between these two groups, just like that, very high repulsion is there. That means it is not comfortable, that it would not be very comfortable in that position, and it readily converts into the another thing, or say your another conformer, and that conformer would be your this one. This is oxygen, this is sulfur, and your X would go in that direction. Okay, so when X will come in that particular direction, in that case repulsion would, there would be no repulsion. That means this equatorial would be more stable. This equatorial would be more stable, and this is less stable. So please remember, when you have this sulfur substitution, that means, say if you number it 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 1,4-oxathione, when you have such species, then you have to consider the repulsive gauche effect, that is the hockey stick effect. Okay, and see, this is looking like actually the hockey stick, that's why the name is there. And when you have this hockey stick effect, and in the oxathiones, that in that case your axial isomer would not be actually the stable one, your equatorial isomers would be the stable one. This is something very important which you should know actually. Now the last example actually which I want to discuss here, and that example is the case of the rabbit ear effect, and more correctly it is actually endoanomeric effect. Endoanomeric effect. Okay, and still this effect is known as the rabbit ear effect. Rabbit ear effect. Okay, so where we will observe this rabbit ear effect actually, right? For this rabbit ear effect, you should have 1,3 diheterocycles. So where we can observe, say for example, you are having this species. This is oxygen, okay, and here you are having the nitrogen attached with the hydrogen. Okay, it is actually tetrahydro 1,3 oxazine. Tetrahydro 1,3 oxazine. Okay, so if you want to draw the conformation for this one, so you can draw for this. You can draw this conformer. Okay, what you can do, you can put nitrogen here, and you put your oxygen here. So this is the lone pair equatorial, this is the lone pair axial, and you are having this lone pair of the nitrogen here, since you have put it this hydrogen here. So if you focus actually on these two, they are actually looking like the ear of the rabbit. Say for example, if you have some rabbit here, okay, so it will have ear just like that, rabbit ear, खरगोश के कान की तरह होते हैं. Okay, so that's why it is rabbit ear. So due to this rabbit ear effect actually, this repulsion is there. So what you can do, this repulsion is there. So due to this repulsion, it is less stable. This is less stable. So it immediately transforms into another structure, and that structure would be this one. Okay, so oxygen here, nitrogen here, put your hydrogen here, and lone pair in this particular position, and now there is no problem with the lone pairs of this one. So this repulsion is not very good. Similarly, the ankymeric anomeric effect is also there in that case. Okay, so how the anomeric effect would be there in that case? just like that. This is the anti-bonding molecular orbital. Okay, or not anti, sorry, I made a mistake here, sorry, don't go for that anomeric effect. Okay, so this rabbit air effect actually will make this nitrogen containing compound 1,3-dihydrocycle less stable. Okay, that's why it is not a very favored one. This is also the favored one. So whatever I have discussed today actually, as such actually these things are there in your say Claydon book. Say you consider only two books for this. Either your see both books, that means Claydon and your Professor Nasipuri book. These two are there actually to understand the things. So why it is, see one thing actually I forgot, why it is called the endo-anomeric effect. For to explain this endo-anomeric effect, let me tell you something. Say this is your carbon oxygen bond, okay, and at the 180-degree angle you will have the anti-bonding orbital, molecular orbital of this one. So I can draw the anti-bonding molecular orbital of this one, okay, just like that. Okay, here anti-bonding. So here in that case, in the anti-bonding orbital, so this p orbital is already there. This p orbital is having the electron pair. Okay, so this can be donated to this one. So anomeric effect is there actually. Okay, anomeric effect. Okay, due to this anomeric effect actually this this is endo-anomeric effect because this bond is the endo bond. Please remember, this bond is the endo bond. This carbon oxygen bond which is inside the ring, this is the endo bond, and this endo bond actually gives the name the endo-anomeric effect. Anomeric effect is there with this endo bond. Okay, so this is how actually you understand the stereochemistry or the conformations of the heterocycles. I hope this lecture will actually be helpful for you for the coming examinations, and also for to understand the stereochemistry in the pretty much detail. Okay, so I hope you like the lecture. If you are really liking the lecture and understanding the things completely, please like the video and subscribe Tetrahedron Chemistry classes. Do share with your friends also. So that's it for today guys. Thank you very much.